That's so funny.
Welcome everybody to Trashy Imports. We've got the beautiful Rossi on tonight.
And Steve. Steve will make a guest appearance.
And Steve.
Because you know I never go anywhere without Steve.
No, not to clubs, not to shows.
No, Steve's a club doggy, huh? You were a club doggy.
Yes.
She's retired right
so
now.
behave.
She's retired right now. She's like, I'm retired.
You're not retired though, right?
No, God no. Actually, I'm featuring I'm so bad. Like I don't even know what club, but for Exotica, in Miami, I haven't done an Exotica since like 2017.
Right.
And I'm doing Exotica Miami, and I'm featuring that Saturday. So I think that's Saturday the 28th?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, what is that Saturday? Because I'm going to be there.
Big party, maybe?
Yeah, I think it is. Steve, do you have to choose? Steve's like, I want to choose right now to play with my ball. Like, perfect timing. Perfect timing.
It is June 27th to the 29th.
Okay, so the 20...
What club is she at?
Yeah, what club am I at? Here, I'll look at my contract. I'm so bad. I'm like...
It's okay, because your face, I'm sure you're going to come up in the first
okay,
two.
whatever. Like, okay, hold on. I'm so bad. Well, it kind of like got like coupled into like me going to Exotica to begin with.
Right.
Because I haven't gone in so long, but I'm like, you know, I want to start. Okay, let's go to 2025 feature dates. Gold Rush.
Gold Rush.
Ooh.
Wait, is that? Have you been there?
No. No, last time I did it.
Great club. Apparently it's a great club.
Okay, cool. I don't know where it is.
But I'm only doing one stage, so that's cool, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I'm featuring again at Sapphires on July 10th. But I've kind of like slowed down my featuring, and not because I just, for a while I was like, I'm sick of traveling. I can't do this anymore because I was featuring a lot. Yeah. And then I slowed it down, and then I slowed everything down, and now I'm like back to like doing photo shoots and doing appearances and then featuring. So that's exciting.
Baby knows a lot about getting burnout or featuring.
But I've been featuring for like 16 years, and you know, this last winter was just such a terrible traveling. Like, I swear, from like November to January, every single feature gig, there was like some sort of airline problem. Yeah. I was stuck in the airport one time for 9 hours. Yeah. And I didn't get to Detroit, which is only like a 4 or 5 hour flight from actually, I only think it's 4 hours from LA. And I woke up at 3 a.m. my time to fly from San Diego to Detroit. And I was stuck at my layover for 9 hours because flights kept getting canceled, whatever. And then I finally get to Detroit. And this is a crazy story, actually. So I get to Detroit, and it's like 3, 4 in the morning, and nobody's working. So I have to wait another hour for my bags. And this guy walks up to me, and I look like trash. Like, I'm like, first of all, I'm so grumpy.
You spent 10 hours in an airport.
Yeah, I'm so grumpy. Like, I took a Xanax because I like literally needed to chill out. So I'm just like, and then I have to wait an hour for my stupid luggage. And I'm like, this guy walks up to me, and he's like, hey, I drove like 5 hours to see you at the club. Because I admit, it was a 3-day booking, and I missed the first day because of all the whatever. And he was like, I drove like 4 or 5, something crazy, to see you. And I've been following your stories on Instagram, and I saw that you were going to be at the airport and you didn't go to the club. So I figured I'd try to catch you at the airport. And I was like, wow. I felt so bad. I mean, yeah, I know. It's kind of a little, and we can talk about like the crazy, like stalker. I have problems with stalkers, but this guy was innocent. Like, he was harmless. He was like,
there are those. There are definitely those.
But he was on his way back. And I guess I just forget. I guess I forget like how many people follow me. Yeah. And so I kind of like, I kind of use my social media. Yeah, I kind of use my social media a bit as like a diary sometimes, and I forget that like I have a lot of eyes on me.
Right.
Because I don't know.
People probably like that. You know what I mean? They get that honest side of it. But yeah, it puts you out there in a way that you don't necessarily anticipate how people are going to react to it.
Yeah, and I just try to stay super authentic, on my
Mm-hmm.
socials.
Yeah. Have you ever been approached at the airport by people with like bootleg stuff for you to sign?
Yes, and I don't
Oh my
prefer
gosh.
that because it's such,
No.
and actually
really rude.
one time I was on a flight and it was a terrible flight, and I'm like laying over in Texas. I don't know what it is about Texas, but I always get stuck in Texas. So anytime I have a layover in Texas, I'm like, fuck that flight, cancel it, change it. I'm not doing it because I get stuck in Texas all the time. One time I was so pissed that I was stuck in Texas that I literally rented a car and drove. I made a vlog about it on my YouTube. I drove from Dallas, Texas all the way to LA because I was like, fuck this. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with airplanes. I'm just going to rent.
It was honestly,
I
driving
don't
was
blame
so
you.
much better. Like when I was booking full time and I could drive from booking to booking, that was so much better. But yeah, if you can plan it so you're on the road like for a few weeks and you've got to drive to different bookings,
I wish
that
that
can
I
be
could have
really
done
fun.
that.
But yeah, once you have like responsibilities and everything at home and you have to go back and forth, then it becomes more difficult. But I used to, when I was full time featuring, I used to make an appointment. Like I would make a point of booking. Say I had 4 or 5 Midwestern bookings all at once.
Yeah.
So I could go up to the Midwest and I would go and stay with Raven, right? Or I would go stay somewhere, and then I would go from there do one in Illinois and one in Wisconsin and one further up in Wisconsin because Wisconsin's so fucking huge, and then come back down to Michigan. Do you know what I mean?
I
That
wish
was the way to do it. With flying that was the most draining part of it, especially when it's only like a 2-night booking and you're only doing 2 shows in that night, right? And then you have to spend a day wasted at the airport.
Well, and I'm on the West Coast, so like most of my bookings are like Midwest and East Coast.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to drive because I always wanted, like my shows, I've always done more than just be like the porn star. Because, there's a difference between a porn star and a showgirl. Like you guys put on like incredible shows, and I always wanted to do that. So all my costumes, you will never see me on stage wearing lingerie. That is my biggest pet peeve. Yeah. I get so mad when I see a porn star feature get on stage and they're wearing just like basic lingerie. And I'm like, girl, you're the feature, like do something. So all my costumes have always been custom made, and I've always, I'm nowhere near talented as like you guys as like showgirls, but I always tried to put on like a show of some sort, at least have a theme with like
your popularity would counter that. Like I feel like that you've got an amazing show presence, and that's just something that you don't necessarily get to learn. Like you just have it. Like people, you wouldn't have the popularity and the long-lasting career if you weren't talented and amazing to watch on stage.
You have a stage presence.
Yeah. Like I feel like you're so good with people, so it's like the performance is it's different and it's a different skill set, but it's still that same engaging the audience with.
And you can't teach that.
You can't teach that. Like you cannot teach charisma. Like either you have it or you don't. And what's really ironic about the whole thing is I have severe social anxiety, like severe. And I don't have to drink to do my stage sets. I actually prefer to be like, I'll have like 1 or 2 drinks, but I prefer to be like coherent, for your own safety and stuff. Yeah. But for some reason, I went to school at a performing arts school. A little backstory, like I started, my whole family was in the entertainment industry. And so I grew up in like showbiz. Like I started out really young as a runway model, and Steve, I did a lot of theater, and I went to performing arts school. I only went to school like part-time because most of the time I was like modeling or doing, performing arts, whatever. So I think that that's where it kind of comes from, is it was a way for me to get away from like that social anxiety and just become like Brett Rossi. Like Brett Rossi is like a character where like Scotty is just like me, who I am, like this little barn girl. But like Brett Rossi is like a very, like big personality and just, can talk to a wall. And I mean, I can talk to a wall. For sure.
Talk to a wall. We've all had to talk to a fucking wall.
Someone said to me, it was so funny. They're like, you could talk the leaves off a tree. Like I talk so much. I talk so much that like I actually made a TikTok about this where like literally I meet you and in 5 minutes I tell you my whole life story. I like trauma dump on you. I'm like, my whole life story within the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, why did I just tell you my life story? This is so embarrassing.
But you're perfect for podcasting then. It's trauma, but make it entertainment.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's literally the trauma. I think that's a common.
It's how you trauma dump. Do you know what I mean? It's how you say the things that you need to like get off your chest. As long as you're making it entertaining for everybody else listening, then it's not draining.
Hold on 2 seconds. I'm gonna take this bone away from Steve because she chose the loudest item.
I'm gonna fix my lighting as well.
She's gonna get mad because I'm gonna take this bone away, but I'm gonna give her rubber chicken.
Okay.
The one she walks around the club with? This is the one that it's no longer, but she, when she used to go to the club, she used to walk around the club with like a rubber chicken, and like people would tip her.
For the rubber chicken?
Yeah, and when I would be out of town, my ex would send me pictures because she would be with him at the club, and he would send me pictures like he'd be like, she got tips today.
That's so funny.
Huh, Steve? She's like
Stevie's toy fund.
Yeah, she's so.
I don't want this dog. There we go.
But yeah, so I just I'm a talker, so.
No, it's perfect.
We like that. That's perfect. That's perfect for this.
Yeah, I actually early in my career, so when I turned 18, like I always wanted to be a Playboy playmate. Like that was my goal. The Girls Next Door was like a big thing back then.
Yeah.
And I had no boobs, and I looked like Avril Lavigne, like bleached blonde hair, dark freaking eyeliner, and like the white wife beater, and like like
thin eyebrows.
Yes, don't forget the thin eyebrows.
Forever scarred by that.
Hess was having the very first casting call at his mansion when he was with Holly, Kendra, and Bridget.
Right.
And I used to, back before like there was social media, there was forums. Do you remember like having forums? Like, so the E! Network had a Girls Next Door forum, and on the forum was posted like, oh, Hep is having this, casting call. And I was like, how do I get into this casting call? So I drove like this hoopty, like 1984 ghetto Honda Civic. And I had moved out when I was 17. So like, I was like living on like, catch up and
a prayer. Living on a prayer.
Catch up in a prayer, yes. And when you turn on the lights, like, I don't ever know if you ever saw the movie Joe's Apartment with like the cockroaches.
Oh, God.
I know the song by heart.
Literally me. You would turn on the lights. I lived in like the attic of someone's house. I was like renting attic of someone's house, and I turned it into like whatever. It's really creepy and weird. You turn on the lights and the cockroaches would like scatter. It was terrible. But I was on my own and I didn't care. So I get my hoopty and I drive to print up MapQuest because we didn't have GPS then. We had MapQuest. And on my paper, and I'm like driving, trying to pick my CDs and like drive at the same time. And so I show up at the mansion, and there's a rock, and you have to talk to the rock. And I'm like seeing these girls, like beautiful girls. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot compete. Like, hello. And I'm like, how the fuck do I get into this like casting? So there's a group of girls that walk up to the rock, and they start talking to the rock. And I was like, hey, I like made friends with them. And the security lets all the girls in, so I just went with them. And now I'm in the mansion, and I'm like, well, what do I fucking do now? Like, act like I belong, right? Like, fake it till you make it. So I acted like I belong. And I did like my test shoot, and I met this girl named Andrea Lowell and Kevin, and they were the hosts of the Playboy Morning Show. And they're like, we want you on the radio. So they put me on. And they're like, oh my God, you're radio gold. And I like instantly became like a fan favorite. And so they were constantly having me on the show. And then I got invited. Somehow Hef saw my picture and was like, I want her to be a painted girl for my parties.
Nice.
So I became a painted girl, and then like the rest is history. But that's like kind of how it started. I didn't start in porn. Like I wanted to be a playmate. That was like I didn't want to be a playmate because I wanted to be famous. I just was like, I just want big titties, and this is how I can buy them. You know what I mean?
I want to be naked on the cover of a magazine.
Growing up, my family always said you're going to be one of two things. Either you're going to be a porn star or a stripper. That was what they would tell me. Well, here we go,
I did tell my parents that's what I wanted to be when I grow up. But I said hooker. I didn't even say porn star. I said I'd be a stripper or hooker. I think I'd just seen Pretty Woman. And there was this other film that they had been watching where there was this gorgeous redhead and she was dancing in a strip club, and I was like,
I always wanted to be one of those Vegas showgirls. Like, my grandmother had a house in Vegas, so we would always go to Vegas, and she'd take me on the strip, and I'd see the showgirls, and I'd be like, man, one day I want to be like them. Like, they're just with their feathers and their costumes. And so I think that's why I'm so into costumes featuring, because I can like live that dream, kind of like a pseudo dream, because for that moment when you're on stage, like you're the showgirl, like you're the star,
For sure.
Yeah.
How long ago did you start doing porn?
So I started doing in 2010 was when I did my first movie. But back up a little bit, before I even did my first movie, I was like a huge fan of do you remember, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like porn, but there was a porn star named Devin, and there was a movie by Digital Playground called Fantasy Island, and it was the only porn I had ever seen. And there was this girl named Devin who actually ended up being my mentor, and she kind of helped me when I first started featuring. But I remember Devin was the most beautiful person I had ever seen in my life, and I was like, I want to be like Devin, And I loved her name because it was a boy name, and my real name is a boy name, and now my stage name is a boy name, and I was like, wow, And so I actually I did Playboy, and then I did Hustler, and then I became a Penthouse pet. And when I became a Penthouse pet, somehow Howard Stern discovered me, and he made me Miss Howard Stern. And then I hosted the Howard 100 show on like back when he had like the satellite network or whatever.
Yeah.
And then after that, I wanted so badly to shoot for this photographer named Tammy Sands, and there was this site called Twisties. And Twisties,
I know Twisties.
Twisties, yeah. So back then, Twisties was all the beautiful glamour girls, and I wanted to be a glamour girl. That was my fucking goal. Like I was like, I'm gonna be one of those girls. And at the time, I was like, I don't know if I'm pretty enough, but I'm gonna be one of them. And at the time, I was best friends with this girl. And she was actually the first girl that I had like sex with, and she was a cam girl, and she got the opportunity to shoot with Tammy Sands, who was a huge photographer and her work was beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, like put a good word in. And it just never came to fruition, it just never happened. So I wrote the other photographer, Holly Randall, a long ass email. And I was like, this is why I deserve for you to shoot me. I said, you don't have to pay me. I just want to be in Twisties. And to my surprise, she responded and she shot me for Twisties. And then every men's magazine put me on the cover. Like it just happened overnight. And then I'm at Penthouse, fast forward, and I'm shooting like my pet pictorial. And I see these two girls, and they're like, Penthouse used to have this beautiful studio, and these girls like were doing like a girl, and they start talking. They're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm just a Penthouse pet. Like, I don't know what you're talking. Like, what do you mean? What do I do?" Right? And they're like, "Well, you can make a lot of money doing girl because you're really pretty." And I was like, and this was back in the day when you could make money doing girl.
Right.
And I was like, I mean, I'm down to fuck hot chicks. Like, I mean, I'm not taking dicks.
No brainer. Right.
how bad can this job be? And so then I ended up getting contracted with Twisties. I was offered a contract. I was their first contract star, and my career kind of just blew up from there. And I didn't actually do boy-girl, like full-on boy-girl porn, like until 8 years into my career.
Yeah.
8 years I survived doing solo and girl, and I made really good money just doing that. So I never really needed to do boy-girl.
Right.
And the industry was structured so differently back then. Like back then it was like, this is how you started. Well, this is how you did your career right. If you were really pretty, you do solo for as long as you can. And then you upgrade to like girl. And you do girl as long as you can. Then when you're ready to do boy-girl, you shop it around and you get a showcase. And whoever bids the highest gets the showcase. And then you do boy-girl, and then you get nominated for all these awards, and then the rest is history.
Oh,
That's how it used.
okay.
And then after you do boy-girl, then you shop around another showcase. And the other showcase is, I'm going to do anal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is that the ultimate?
Well, back then, yes. And then it was a little different. So after anal, you shop around another showcase. And this was back when the industry was totally different. You would shop around an IR showcase. And so that's kind of how the tier worked. Yeah. Now it's structured so differently. Now girls come in like doing fucking blow bangs and whatever. So
Right off the bat.
Yeah, it was just so different. And honestly, I was really lucky because I never had a bad experience. And I know that there are, unfortunately, people who have had bad experiences. Mm-hmm. But I never had a bad experience because I was always kind of sheltered. I was what they called a contract girl. And back then, there was a difference between gonzo girls, which were like the girls that were like crazy, like fucking their makeup all fucked up. And then there was glamour girls. And glamour girls did like the feature films where there was dialogue and catering and your makeup didn't get fucked up. You got like powdered in between, like getting railed, like jogging the neck, kind of holding, like.
This is so interesting.
Yeah, we need to like glue her lash back on. So there was a huge difference.
Right. Yeah.
And so when my Twisties contract was coming to an end, they were phasing out the digital playground contract girls for new ones. And the old digital playground girls were like Jessie Jane, BB Jones, Riley Steele, Kaden Croft, like the big names. And they were kind of phasing them out because they wanted a whole new generation. Mm-hmm. So my agreement was, okay, you're going to do your first boy girl for digital, and you're going to be the first of the new generation to do this, to do digital playground and be a digital playground contract star and do your boy girl. Well, I did my boy girl, and then they were like, actually, we changed our mind. And I kick myself now seeing where this company is now, but they were like, we don't want you to be a digital girl. We're going to fuck digital. We're not doing digital girls anymore. We're doing Brazzers contract girls. And I was like, oh, fuck no. I am not a Brazzers girl, because back then Brazzers was Gonzo. And I was like, I don't want my makeup fucked up. I can't take giant cock. Like, I just want normal dick. And like, you know what I mean? I was like, and I want dialogue. I want catering. I want my face. I want cute. Like, and they were like, well, this is where it's going. And I was like, well, fuck you. And I was so upset. And then I met Charlie, and I was like, well, never mind. Like, fuck everyone. So that's kind of like what happened up until that point, But the industry was so different than it is now. Now, the performers have much more control.
Because they can be their own content creators, right?
Yeah. And so now when they do scenes, they do it more as a push for traffic to their own stuff. Whereas back then when you did scenes, you did it for exposure.
Yeah.
To become popular.
Right.
Yeah. It was such a different world than it is now. And, but yeah, I was like, so I remember, and I still to this day am loyal. I'm a glamour girl. I don't want my makeup fucked up. I mean, in personal life, that's different. But if I'm on film, I want to look cute.
Yeah.
100%. Makeup isn't cute, but like, I just wasn't the girl that was going to take 2 dicks up her ass. Like, I just couldn't.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty vulgar, but that's just
No, everybody has to have boundaries, and it's great to hear. Like, honestly, this is a really positive story as far as like I think that this is good for people to hear, because I think there is a really rotten assumption that everybody in the porn industry ends up having a really terrible experience, right?
Well, and I was, because I was a contract girl, I was protected by corporations, if that makes sense. Because if you were just a performer and you were not contracted back then, being a contract star was like prestigious. Like that was like the ultimate goal. But if you were just like independent, like you had an agent, but when I say independent, I mean not contracted. You had an agent and you just show up to this set, show up to that set. You were more likely to have your boundaries pushed, to be pressured, to do things that maybe you wouldn't have done. Whereas with a contract, you sit down when you sign that contract, and it's like, this is what I will do. This is what I won't do. These are my demands. These are my riders. I had a yes list. I didn't even have a no list. I was like, I had maybe 5 guys that I would fuck. And I'm like, this is the rotation. This is who I want to be with. And maybe I would add another guy, but it was usually the same rotation. So ironically, everyone thinks that I've fucked like a zillion people. But what's funny is I don't have a high body count, because when I was contracted, I was only fucking like the same 5 dudes like every month. Yeah. And then in my personal life, my body count was even lower because I've always been in long-term relationships throughout.
I can tell you mine is in over the hundreds, so
you go, girl. You go.
Way up there.
You go, girl.
Way up there. And I always knew porn stars. Like, I knew it.
Higher than a porn star. Fuck yeah. But unfortunately, because of that, like, perception, and I feel I have empathy for the girls who have had bad experiences, because when I wasn't contracted and when I got my first agency, I did a couple scenes out of contract before Twisties like snatched me up. And I wouldn't say they were bad experiences, but they were experiences where I was pressured to do things I probably wouldn't have done. Yeah. Because and also you're so young. Like, I mean, I was only 20, and you just want to get your check. You don't want to cause any adversary. And so you just, like, if the director's like, oh, just blah, 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 and you're like, at that point, you don't have enough confidence, and you also don't have enough star power to be like, no, fuck you. I'm not fucking doing that. Cut. You aren't touching me like that. You're like, I just, you don't have that confidence yet, and you don't know what you can and can't say no to. So there are situations where, I mean, those stories are real, but not everyone has experienced that. And I would say the contract girls were a lot more protected because we have an ironclad contract. Right. So, I mean, lawyers write it up. It goes back and forth. Like, my Twisties contract took about 3 months to negotiate. Lawyers going back and forth, well, we want this. And I'm like, well, I want this. Well, we don't want this. And I'm like, well, I don't care. Like, a lot of girls back in the day, well, yeah, like a lot of girls back in the day would give away their likeliness. They would be like, okay, for a great example, Digital Playground. A lot of people didn't know this. So when Jessie Jane was discovered by Digital Playground and signed with them, they owned her trademark. So when she left Digital, that's why when she started shooting for other companies, she went by Jessie. Yeah. Because she didn't own Jessie Jane. Now, a better story, Tara Patrick. Tara Patrick had a workaround. Tara Patrick, they owned the name Tara Patrick, but you know how Tara Patrick got away from that? She legally changed her name to Tara Patrick. Yeah. So that was the loophole. So when I got into the business, I was like, I'm trademarking Brett Rossi and nobody can have it. And so every contract I signed, they'd be like, well, we want Brett Rossi. And I'd be like, too bad. I own the trademark. You can't have it. Yeah.
That's smart.
And I advise all performers of any genre, mainstream, showgirls, porn girls, content creators, trademark your name if you're really serious about, because that way if some random Joe Schmo makes a toy of you, you just send a cease and desist and be like, yo, either you give me the funds for what you made or you take it down or I'm going to sue you because I own the rights.
Right. Yeah.
And you can make money licensing. Like, for example, for AI, I license my likeliness. So you can license yourself. Like, you license yourself for a toy. You license yourself for all these different avenues and ways to make money because it's all about, you can't just have one revenue stream. You have to have so it's a big business. You just got to be a business person and be smart about it.
Was it the same for you, Bambi? Because it was around the same time frame. You guys got into the industry.
Yeah. But so I was like, I did twisties, right? But not.
I'm gonna Google you.
There's like a tiny. Yeah, it was just like a tiny. It's like It was when I first did like a penthouse shoot, and it was very. It's like you could have. It's like softcore. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what it is.
Okay.
It's like
Desire.
Yeah. Yes. It's
like
a video
with the sexy music. The like boo doo boo.
Yeah. You buy a pool, and it's like if your penthouse shoot, if your solo penthouse shoot was video.
Yes.
It's very much, that's very much what it is. And it's no, it was great. It's fun. I like toyed with that avenue before I really knew that I was a stripper before anything else, right? Okay. So it was so amazing. I had the same goal as you, like always wanted to be a playmate. Always, got to do penthouse before I did Playboy, just because of where I was in the world. Australian penthouse was easier to do that than it was to be in Playboy. But it was still an amazing experience, and I just came in from another angle, and I already knew how to make money as a stripper.
Right.
That I never sort of, the showgirl avenue would just made sense to me. Do you know what I mean? And so there were so many times, and especially like I already had so many issues with like partners because I'm the same as you. Like I was always in relationships,
long term. I'm a monogamous person. I have never been in relationships, contrary to popular belief. Like when I was with Charlie, everyone's, oh, you probably had like hookers and all this stuff. No, we were monogamous. Like we were engaged and monogamous and like totally done. Every relationship I've been in, I've never been in like a swinging relationship. I don't share. Like I don't share. I just don't.
I don't share. Like
I mean,
what if she's pretty? Like I won't know, but I'm not.
You can rock that stuff behind my back. I don't want no girl on my dick, on my man.
That is my dick. No.
I don't trust them, and I pick. The individuals that I'm attracted to are like high quality people. So it's like I don't trust people. I have trust issues. Like I don't trust people at all. But
they might have other motives. Yeah.
It's funny that you say you were a stripper because I will never forget my first feature gig. I had never even been in a strip club before.
Oh wow.
And I was like, okay, so I show up. It was Myrtle Beach. And I forget the Masters. I think it was Masters was the name of the club. I don't remember. It was in Myrtle Beach.
No, yeah, I know.
Was it Masters? Okay, it was. I remember. And I walk in, and I'm like, oh my god, my roadie's with me, and I'm like, and he's the only one who knows that like I've never been in a strip club. And the guy's like showing me around, and this club is fucking massive. It's got like the catwalk and the 3-pole, and I'm like, I've never even been on a fucking strip pole before, or like a stripper pole before. Like I don't know what I'm doing. But I was a ballet dancer beforehand, so like I was like I can fake it, whatever. I can be sexy. I know how to be like sexy. And so the guy's talking to me, and he's like, yeah, so like you just do your thing, and what you normally do. Well, thankfully I had been prepped to like create shows because of Devin. Devin had prepped me beforehand, and I met her through like a mutual friend or whatever, and so she was so kind to like prep me. So
Are you talking about Devin Michaels, or was it just Devin?
It was just Devin.
Just Devin. Okay.
Just Devin, yeah. And
that name sounds so fucking familiar.
Yeah, Michaels is super hot.
With big I mean, all porn stars are blonde with big boobs back then, but whatever. So he's like, yeah, just do, what you normally do. And I was like, totally, for sure. And he's like, yeah, so like, what do you normally do? I was like, just, and he was like, oh, so your show's a secret. And I was like, yeah, for sure. I had never given a lap dance before. And he was like, so do you do dances? And I was like, yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck are dances? Like, I don't even know what do you mean dances? And he's like, okay, cool. So like, to giveaways. And I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, I'm like, for sure. And he's like, all right, what do you have? Like, what kind of games? He's like, oh, I bet you play like cooter ball, huh? The fucking word. And I was like, yeah, I love cooter ball. He's like, you do? Because everyone hates it. And I'm like, totally, cooter ball. Awesome. And I'm like, the fuck is cooter ball? So I remember I meet the house mom, and she was a beautiful seamstress. She ended up making some of my costumes, but she was so good at her craft. And I pull her aside, I'm like, look, lady, like, I don't even know what the fuck cooter ball is. I've never even been on a strip pole. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And she was like, fake it till you make it, baby doll. And I was like, fake it till I make it. And she goes, fake it till you make it, baby doll. And ever since then, I have been, if I'm in a situation where I'm like scared, nervous, or whatever, I play back her holding my arms and saying, fake it till you make it, baby doll. And I faked it till I made it. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then I was featuring every single weekend for like 10 years straight. And then I got tired and old.
Yeah. You get tired. You start to wake up in a different hotel, and it's like they're always the same sort of hotel, and you're like, what state? It gets to that point, where you're like, look up when you're like, which state am I in?
And it's not glamorous. Like, everyone thinks, like, I bet you get put up, and sometimes, especially the Midwest, you get put up in these fucking ho-dunk, like, you don't even know, like, there's no, like, they're like, I'm sorry, what is, like, what do you mean, what is McDonald's? The nearest McDonald's is, like, 45 minutes away, and you're like, well, what do you eat? They're like, we've got this, like, diner that they still allow smoking in, and you're like, where? It's true, right? And so you're like, what the fuck? I'll never forget, I walked into a Waffle House for the first time, and it was in the South where they
In Georgia. I know exactly what you're talking about. No, oh my God.
And I walk into this Waffle House, and I keep in mind, I'm like a smoker too, right? At the time. I don't smoke anymore, but like at the time I was a smoker. And I walk in, and I'm like, yo. Why the fuck is that guy eating a waffle and smoking a cigarette at the same time?
Yes.
Is it still
the same thing? So no, it horrified me, and I had the same experience, but I was with my husband, and we just stayed at some shitty hotel where I think we were on our way down to Florida, and this is because he traveled with me for a while, right, which was awesome. But we're on our way down to Florida, and we stopped in Georgia, and we just stayed at this like tiny little motel for the night because we just couldn't drive anymore. And I'm starving, and I'm fucking picky as shit eater. I'm vegan. I'm gluten free. It's like the worst.
You're on like a diet. Yeah, and we always try to start a diet right when the tour starts.
Yeah, no, I can't eat anything but fucking lettuce. Yeah.
Eggs. Like, whenever I'm like done dancing, I'm like, I want scrambled eggs. And they're like, scrambled eggs? I'm like, scrambled eggs with ketchup. And they're like, there's no fucking open availability. And I'm like, they're like, you got Jack in the Box. And I'm like, do they have eggs? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, we walked into Waffle House.
I'm listening.
Everybody's smoking. It's all right. Everybody is smoking. And it was like, I'm like, you couldn't smoke inside, I think, for the last 20 years, 25 years maybe in New Zealand. Like, no way. I was stripping and they just quit. So it was like, I think I was 19. So like 21 years you haven't been able to smoke inside anywhere in New Zealand.
Right.
And so we walked into this Georgian fucking Waffle House where I can't eat anything but the lettuce and tomatoes anyway.
Because you're vegan.
And I'm like,
and they're like, what's
so horrified? my husband's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just like, no, I'm not. I can't do it. No, like you order yourself something. I'm sitting in the car. I'm not. I can't do this. I can't sit and I can't sit in this fucking smoke. And I'm like, trying not to be rude, but I can see these very southern people just looking at this at me, being like, what the hell is this bitch's problem? Like, I was like, I'm trying not to be like mortified, but I was so grossed out. I can't believe you can still smoke. But
and I was a smoker and I thought it was disgusting.
No, it is gross. But okay, so the funniest, I'll tell you, there's one story about smoking and eating inside, because you can still smoke in a lot of South Florida strip clubs, right? You go to Miami, they can smoke. Yeah, so when you go to do Exotica, very likely they can smoke inside. There's when I first danced in South Florida, I was at a club and they had an amazing day shift. And it wasn't a great area, and I wasn't from there, and I was staying in a shitty hotel for like a week, and I just thought it was better for me to work day shift. And it opened at 11:30, and they did free lunch. And because of that, yes, but it was the best money, and it was all old retirees, right? But there was this moment in time where, because I didn't do rooms in that particular club, I would only do the like on the floor dances for $10 a song, or like friction dances. It was super classy place. Friction dances for $25. Right? You make really good money. But so there's this moment at 11:30 on a fucking Tuesday morning where this 75-year-old man has picked me to stand there with no panties on, with one leg up on the table, and he's got a plate of meatloaf, a glass of scotch, and a cigar, and he's eating his meatloaf, drinking his scotch, and smoking his cigar, while like in increments, just like turning over,
the smoke at you,
looking at my pussy. And there was like this moment where I'm like, at what point in my life, like what turn?
How did I get here?
And why am I here?
It's 11:30 on a Tuesday. I've got my pussy in this guy's face while he breathes smoke rings and eats meatloaf. It was. I'm in Miami, bitch.
You're like, I made it. You know, I think I've had many crazy stories, but one of the reasons why I slowed down my featuring a lot was because I don't know what it is, but I attract unstable people, stalkers, and I don't know, maybe because I'm a little funky. I don't know.
Because you're relatable and you're really likable, you know, and that's part of your appeal, like to a mass market, you know, is people can relate to you, but it also has the downside,
the dark
of it.
side to it. Yeah,
yes,
it's like a
people are like, she really likes me and understands me.
Well, so you know,
people who already have an issue.
Yes.
Yeah, and
it wasn't you didn't do it, but they found you.
Well, I know I didn't do it. The catfish from Jamaica did it. Okay, like these Jamaicans and Nigerians, I need to make friends with them because they're making more money than me off my name, and it's like insane with the catfishing.
Yeah.
So this guy, I'll never forget. I was dancing in West Virginia. I mean, I've had plenty of. I'll tell two stories. So this guy in West Virginia, I'm dancing, and he comes to the club, and they're like, Brett, there's some guy here saying that like he's gonna marry you. Like, is your fiance here? And I'm like, what? No? What are you talking about? Like, no? And this guy comes up to me, and he's like, I'm so, oh my God, like, well, I can't wait for us to get married. And I'm like, whoa, stop. Like, this guy literally thought, and he showed me the conversations, had spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars talking to this catfish, and came with like a ring, and like thought that we were going to get married, like legitimately thought. And he cried and sobbed when I was like, yo, we're not getting married. He didn't believe me. And I was like, okay, first of all, you can't be crying in a strip club. Like, we don't cry here. Okay, bad look.
It is only for the strippers.
Yeah, like strippers cry in the back over the dollar bills, okay? And because they played cooter ball and they fucking hate it. That's why we're crying, all right? Because you fucking kept throwing that stupid crumbled up ball at my eyeball.
We now have to unroll
and they fucking throw it at your eyeball every time. And I'm like, God. But anyways, so he's like crying, whatever. He's like, give me all it. I'm not whatever. Okay. Then the other story was and this is why I stopped featuring locally. So I'm at the time, my boyfriend's club, and I'm there, and this guy shows up at the door, and he's like, I'm here to see my girlfriend. And the door guy's like, this is really weird because, like, you're not the girlfriend, like, the owner, like, this is the owner's girlfriend, like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? And so the guy comes to my meet and greet, and he's like, oh, yeah, like, why'd you tell me not to come? And I'm like, what? And he's like, why'd you tell me not to come? Like, I'm so excited to, like, we can find, so when can we go out to eat? And, like, he legitimately thought we had a relationship. And I was like, and so I'm like doing like a signing, and I'm like, yo, that's my boyfriend. And he's like, wait, so who have I been talking to? I'm like, probably some person in Nigeria. I don't know. And he's like,
probably a dude.
And he's like, I gave them all this money. And I'm like, look, all these people are like making money off of me. And I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
So it started happening at every single club. It started getting a bit much and really overwhelming. And it started getting really scary because I started getting, for about 6 months, I had this guy write me heinous emails. He doxed me. He found, I had posted a photo of me and my ex, and he Googled him, found out where he lived, and then found out where I lived because we had lived together. And he was like, oh, do you live blah, 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 and like knew like my real name. And I had actually legally years ago changed my legal name because of when I was with Charlie, all the tabloids put out my legal name. So I had no anonymity. So it was like anonymity. You know what I'm talking about. Like I couldn't be anonymous outside of Brett Rossi.
Anonymity. Yeah.
Anonymity. That's it, girl. So I legally changed my name. Yeah. I mean, Scotty was a nickname growing up, but I legally changed my name, and it gave me that like comfort that when I want to turn off Brett Rossi and be normal outside, like people can't, like normal people like at my barn or whatever can't like Google my real name and then all this stuff about Brett Rossi pops up because thanks to the tabloids when I was with Charlie, you know, they had blew out all my personal information like
and
that.
They don't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck. And it was a really, you know, all these girls want to be famous, okay? And until you have paparazzi sitting outside your house and following you and asking you personal questions when you're going through like a breakup, like when you publicly have to go through like your engagement ending publicly, you're like destroyed, obviously. Hello, like me and Charlie had broken up 3 weeks before our wedding, so it was like you were just you're mentally destroyed, and now you got these random weirdos with like cameras following you at like a Starbucks, and you look like shit. They're never good pictures, by the way.
And they're like, oh, she went fucking crazy. She's not handling anything well.
Had a meltdown or whatever, and you're like, dude,
I remember that.
Yeah, it was really quite terrible because I was in the sex industry. Even though this person had their history and their reputation, it didn't matter because I was the porn star. I had to be the gold digger. I had to be the bad person. And so the tabloids created this like narrative of me, like that I was a drug addict when I was not. I've never been a drug addict. That I like overdosed on drugs. That I did all this stuff. That I was a bridezilla and I was controlling and I was after his money when it was none of that. And unfortunately, like that's how the media portrays people in the sex industry. Now it's kind of shifting, but still they never side with us because we are not of value, sadly. It's not true, but unfortunately to the common folk, we're not of value.
And nobody has empathy for us either, and they'll be like, well, what did she expect? That's what she gets when she goes down that road. That's what she deserves.
I got that a lot. I got that. I remember people would be like, well, what did you expect being with like Charlie? And I'm like, he was not my generation. I always date older because I love older men. That's just my thing. And
there you go.
And so he was not my generation. I had actually never seen any of his work. So when I got with him, I knew he was like a celebrity, but I didn't know of what stature. Like I didn't realize how big he was until we went. I remember we went to Spain. And we walked out of the hotel, and I have pictures of us being in the car, people swarming the car, slamming themselves on the car. And I'm like, it was terrifying for me because he grew up in that world. I didn't.
Yeah.
So, and I had people pulling on my arm, like wanting pictures with me. And I'm like, me? Like, I'm just a fucking nobody. Like, what do you want? And they're like screaming and following us. And, you know, when we were together, I had to have security because the fear was that I was, you know, either going to get like kidnapped or hurt or stalked or whatever because of my affiliation with somebody that was of such great stature.
Right.
So it was crazy. Like and so now.
And that was. Do you think that was definitely heightened and made worse? I don't want to say by the fact that people knew that you did porn, so they wanted even more of you.
Yeah. I think because and they loved the tabloids, loved to say porn star, and it was like, dude, at that time I hadn't even like done boy girl, so I was like barely a porn star. Like I was just like a nude model, you know what I mean? And so it was.
But porn star sounds very
it's whatever, and I learned whatever sells. So here's a secret that a lot of people don't know about the mainstream industry. So I was at like my height of popularity. Obviously, my name was out there, and I wish social media was what it is today because I could have parlayed it and made a lot of money. I made good money, but I started making friends with the paparazzi so they would leave me alone and give me privacy. And so what you would do is you would have like your publicist call like, you know, TMZ or the Daily Mail or whatever and be like, oh, Brett's going to be at blah, 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 you know, at this time. And, you know, maybe if you pay her 10 grand, she'll say something to you. And they would be like, okay, what will she say? And they're like, well, what do you want to ask? And so it turned into this like negotiation where you started getting paid to show up to places. So like the Kardashians and all that stuff, they're now beyond that. So there's like a level. So the first level is like you pay them to follow you. Unless like there's a big story. Like with me, I kind of skipped that phase. And then you get to the phase where it's like they'll literally pay you for your photos or for your presence. And then you get to the part where you're like the Kardashians or Brad Pitt or whatever, and they just stalk you. So it's like, so I was in between the stalking, and then I was like, wait a minute. I had a friend who like was like a celebrity fixer, and he was like, yo, like you can make some money off this. And I'm like, what do you mean make money? Like, I'm mortified. Like, I hate this. And he's like, well, we're going to turn it into a lucrative thing for you. So I'd be like, fuck, okay, I'm going to Starbucks at this place at this time. I'm not saying anything, but you're giving me like 8 grand for my picture. And they would do it. And I was like, cool. Like, cool, okay.
Okay.
The only shitty thing is you can't control the narrative that they're going to spin.
Right.
So, you know, next thing you know, you're in the fucking grocery store and you see yourself on like the cover of Us Weekly and it's like, Brett Rossi overdosed on drugs, and you're like, it's a horrible photo of you like having a
just buying oranges,
and you're like throwing, like you're in the middle of like going like what? And they're like, oh look, you're throwing a fit. You're like, no, I was just yawning, like I was literally yawning, and they're and they dig and you're like,
oh,
dude, this fucking sucks balls, but at least you know, it is what it is. Like that, and a lot of people don't know that side, like the mainstream side of things. Like fame is not what you think it is, especially if you're a sex worker. It will never be. They may kind of slightly accept you, but you'll always be a sex worker. You can never
make the money.
You'll make the fucking money.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, just hustle. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
we're gonna talk shit anyways, so
yeah. So make sure that you're making it worth it.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to ask you about your like transition from contracts to what most people are doing now, and that is like really being your own content creator and being in charge of everything that you do. And
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the difference and whether that was something that you've enjoyed, that you're happy about, you find like, in my opinion, and I probably don't know that I've got the most valid opinion, but I feel like it's been better for a lot of people
Yeah.
to be able to create their own content and be in charge of and make their own meetups and hook up with who they want to hook up with and run it privately. And it seems like a lot more work, but I feel like at the end of the day, ultimately, you're probably making more money,
Mm-hmm.
and your content is what you're in control of. So nobody's telling you who to do and what to do,
Yeah.
right?
So how I kind of transitioned was, I remember it was like 2019, and it got to a point where I was entering an age where I was getting casted as a MILF.
Mhm.
And this was before like MILFs were what they are now. Now you can like, your career can last forever. But my generation of the industry that I grew up in was mainstream and porn. Once you hit like 30, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, you better fucking hope you either found a husband or a real job or something, or set yourself up financially.
Hmm.
And so I reached this plateau in my career where I was like, okay, I don't want to be a MILF, because I was like so anti MILF at the time, because it kind of had a negative connotation back then. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It was like MILFs back then were kind of like the girls who like never left porn, and they're kind of like there, like they were once super famous, but like now they're like nobody.
Hmm.
Not nobody, but like they're kind of like,
Yeah.
they're just like there, you know what I mean? And
Right.
so, and I kept getting casted with like men. They were legal age, but they looked
Very
not
young.
of legal age, and that bothered me. Also, this was around the time incest porn became very popular.
Right.
And I just don't like incest porn. I don't
Right.
want to pretend like I'm fucking my stepdaughter or what. Like, that's creepy. Like, look, I know everyone has their own shticks and their own fetishes and their own niches, and that's cool, and I respect that. But for me, it wasn't something I felt comfortable doing. So I started getting to the point, to be completely honest, where I would drive the set and I would cry because I didn't want to do it, but I had nowhere to go. Like, where was I going to go? So I stopped filming, because I always promised myself the moment that I wasn't happy doing it, I had to stop. I couldn't do it. I just don't have that mindset. So I went to featuring full time, and then the pandemic happened. And I was like, well, what the fuck am I going to do now? And OnlyFans, I had an OnlyFans account, but it wasn't like really anything yet. And a girlfriend of mine, who's actually one of my best friends, was like, hey, dude, you should start shooting like every day for your OnlyFans. That's what I'm doing, and I'm making good money. And I was like, all right, I got nothing else to do. So I literally shot every single fucking day during lockdown. I do my makeup, I do vlogs, I do this, I do that. And then my OnlyFans started getting like popular. I mean, from my fan base, and I was like, okay, like, I mean, I'm talking like in the beginning, I was making like 20, 25 grand a month. And I'm like, meanwhile, the rest of the world is shut down and people can't even pay their bills. So I'm like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then when the world went back to normal, I actually didn't go back to featuring right away, because I was like, why? I'm making like 30, 35 grand a month. Like, what the fuck do I need to go back on the road for? And then I realized,
all of the good bookings that only used to book porn stars now booking showgirls because of those decisions. So thanks for that.
you're welcome. And so then I became picky, and I was like, look, I'm going to start, because we all raised our rates.
Yeah.
We all raised our rates.
Rightfully
I could
so.
stay home and make more money. Yeah.
Exactly. And so so then, Dave, my agent, who I've been with for like 16 years, was like, please go back to featuring because none of the porn stars want to come back. And you're like the only one, please, please, please. And I was like, all right. And because I was like one of the few porn stars that came back, I was like booked and busy. And they were paying my rate because no porn stars wanted to come back. Right. And so they were like, fine, we'll pay your rate. We don't care. And I raised my rate by like $200, by the way. So I was like, booked and busy.
Good for you.
And they were paying my rate, and they were paying for, and then they would also pay my demands, which were like, I also want you to pay for my roadie. And they'd be like, okay, fine, fuck, anything, we don't care. Like, let's fucking show up. And I'm like, okay. So then I went back to featuring, and then I started doing both, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm doing really well, and I have all this, like, control. And so then I was like, I don't even need to do collabs. So now I literally do, I won't say how much I make, but I do very, very well, and I only do solo. I have not worked with another person since 2019. I do like occasionally, like I have like my best friend where like we'll do like JOI instruction or like whatever. I'm not giving it to you, Steve. She wants her chicken. But if you see my floor, she destroys chicken. So I'm like, no, you're not having it. But yeah, so I just love like the creative freedom, like, and like, for instance, I just got back from Cabo. I paid my photographer to go down to Cabo, and I realized that social media plays just as big of a part as shooting content for your OnlyFans. So my OnlyFans is where like all the explicit stuff is, but I started investing in my social media and doing professional shoots and really like marketing myself like that, because that is, your social media is, and I don't really ever advertise my OnlyFans, and people just know. People just know, and it pulls traffic. Like last month, between May 1st and May 31st, I had 2.1 million in traffic to my Instagram. And that is just because I'm like,
that's amazing.
Posting about it, because like that, I was even amazed, because like that is very, very hard to do. And that was, God, that was very hard to do. And it's all by like dedication. But I go to Cabo, I think I'm going to go to Hawaii in July and shoot. And when I go to these places, like I'll shoot a little bit of OnlyFans stuff, but a lot of it is hyper focused on safe for work Instagram, or my vlogs for YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and I've noticed the better your social media is doing, the better your OnlyFans will do. Like I know girls who have like 10 million followers and they're making 150K a month on OnlyFans. Like, could you imagine 150K a month on OnlyFans? Like, that's fucking asinine. Like,
Skylar, she's gotten up there. We have a friend who's gotten up in the top 0.2%.
She started as a stripper.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. I think it's really great, but the thing is, because there is a false narrative out there about OnlyFans that I think like a lot of people should be aware of if they're considering joining OnlyFans. Number one,
I will say I don't make shit. I don't make shit on my OnlyFans anymore because it takes so much time and energy and so much effort.
Like, it's a full-time job and then some.
Yeah. And I don't have the ability or the capacity or the want to invest that kind of time in it. Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of like, people see these like stories in the press, like, oh, I make 150, or I make 2 million, or I make 30 million. Okay, first of all, those are very few and far between. Yeah. Second of all, you have to remember, even if it's on OnlyFans, your punani, someone's going to find it, okay? Yeah. Someone is going to find out. Someone is going to know. So if you think it's going to be your
have a regular job, you're going to get fired.
If you think it's going to be your little secret, it's not. It's not. It's not going to be. And 90% of the time, unless you have an established brand, you're not going to make shit. Because it is so oversaturated that the only people who are surviving are people who had big brands or social media presence. Yeah. And that's what makes me kind of deter people away from it. I'm like, dude, you're better off doing Sex Panther. Like, you know what I mean? Because at least you're just texting photos to like random dudes, and like it's less likely to like get out there and whatever. Whereas like with OnlyFans, there's OnlyFans leaks. Like I have a whole team that I have to like pay to like pull down my leaks, and I have like edit my content, and then I gotta do my social media, and then I've got my auction, and then I've got my Sex Panther, and then I've got this and that, and there's so much, and then dancing. So it's like there's so much to it that like I don't think a lot of people realize that the difference is when you were making movies, it was guaranteed money,
Yeah.
Whereas with OnlyFans and content creation, 1 month you can be making like 30,000, the next month you could be making 15, and that you have to learn not to live in 30,000 land or 50,000 land, because next month you can make 10 grand, and then you're like, well, fuck, how do I pay my rent?
Well, that's the same as stripping.
Yeah,
Well,
strippers
yeah.
have, yeah.
Yeah, that's the same as stripping. Yeah.
And it would
That
be
newbie money.
Yeah. Like I see it all the time, and it's the one thing that I say to all like entertainers, especially when they have their first night. And I remember like the first time I cracked $1,000 in one night, and just being so amazed. And now that to me is just like, if I like, you get to the point where if you don't make that, you're fucking mad and be like, why did I get out of bed?
turn
And then,
you get kind of jaded. You get jaded.
So the first one I see these girls do really well, they walk out with a couple of $1,000, and it's the first time they've made that much money, and I'm like,
you're like, please, baby girl, don't go buy a
don't go buy yourself a fucking purse.
Please, please don't. And as I've gotten older, and I've made a lot of money throughout my career, and I invested it in like paying off my debts that I had when I was 17, 18, 19, 20. And I never was taught, like I had to live off credit cards because I was so poor. So I trashed my credit when I was young. So really the first 5 years of making amazing money went to building my credit back up, and so I see like these new girls come in, and they like, the first thing they do is like get a designer bag, which is like $4,500. Then they get a Maserati or a Beamer or a Mercedes, and I'm like, baby girl, you live in a fucking studio apartment in Van Nuys, and there's a crackhead out your front door. Like, what are you doing? Like, and so but you can't teach that. It's experience. And as I've gotten older, like all my designer bags are like in the fucking storage. Like, dude, I use, what I use as a purse if I have a purse half the time? This like $7.99 shitty like Fashion Nova like fanny pack.
That's amazing. me and Raven have the same purse. We have a friend who bought us the same purse. It's great.
Still carry purse.
I'm not gonna lie though, like I would have so much more money if I didn't have horses, but that's like my thing.
But what is the point of doing any of this shit if it doesn't bring you joy, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't give you the ability to have something that you truly love in life, and gives you something that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Oh, for sure. Because like, what's the point? Like, you can't take it with you when you die. Like that's kind of how I live. I mean, I obviously live like responsibly, and look, there's been times where I've been financially irresponsible and like fucked myself. But as you get older, you realize like there's gonna come a time where it's gonna be, as you get older, I should rephrase, it gets harder and harder and harder to make the same money that you were making. You have to work harder. You have to hustle harder. You have to market. Like for me, there was a time in the last like 6 months where I was like, I kind of backed down a lot on like my brand. And I wouldn't say I abandoned it, but at the time, like I had a different focus. And so I stopped like doing photo shoots. I stopped really shooting for my OnlyFans. Like I'd shoot here and there, but not as consistently. And like I stopped doing like my auctions and my sex pants, and my finances significantly dropped. And I'm talking by like $20,000 dropped. And I was like, okay with it, because I was like in a different phase of my life. And then that changed. And so I was like, okay, how can I fix this? because it's really hard when you're older. And I mean, I'm only 36, but in the industry that's, older. I'm like, how can I revive this? Because it wasn't dead. It was just needing to be revived. And that's when I was like, I'm going to just invest every fucking dollar I have. Like, look, I wanted to get a new Sphinx cat. And I was like, nah, dog. It's either do the shoot or like invest in your business or get a new Sphinx. And I was like, well, I'm going to invest in my business. And I'm so glad I did because it took like 2 months, but the return was so much financially better. And now it's like, now I'm like, photo shoot, podcast, vlogging, fucking exotica, feature dancing, this, that, like, I'm like lined up and booked and busy and really hyper focused on that. And thank God that my brand survived that little time off. You know what I mean? Because not everyone can get that lucky without having to go back and do movies. Like I was able to revive myself without having to go back and do movies. Whereas most people, when they abandon their brand, they have to go back and do movies to kind of revive it and get like, hey, I'm back, So I was very lucky because I've always had a solid social media presence because I use my social media, unfortunately, as like my personal diary.
But that's what makes it so engaging.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm a little unhinged on there. I'm like losing my fucking mind. And then I'm the queen of posting and deleting. I'm like, back when Twitter was a thing, I'd be like, and then like 2 minutes later, like, delete. Just to get it out. Like, I'll post stuff and then I'll be like, and then like 20 minutes later, I'll be like, oh, you fucking idiot. Like, get that off. Get it off. Delete. And then you're like,
I feel the same.
You're like, who saw it? Oh, God, the same, like, 10 people think I'm unhinged. You know what I mean? And you're like, where did you show? What am I doing? Like, and it's like, but it's hard for me because some people curate their brand as like, this is their brand and this is who I am when I'm not. Whereas me, because of like the tabloids and being with Charlie and all that stuff, my brand unfortunately is kind of meshed together. I'm kind of the same person, but not the same person. Like there's no separation really. Like I have fans that leave comments and they're like, "Hey, Scotty," you know what I mean? And it used to bother me, but now it's like I don't care if people know. I mean, I don't want them knowing my last name.
It's
but
still disrespectful.
It totally is. I hate it.
Like,
It
when people, it's shitty. Like this, I think we should just put this out there because, like, I know that like any performers, doesn't matter what they do, whether they do porn, whether they're showgirls, burlesque, drag, like any of these performers that we have a stage name, and it's relatively easy to find people's names. But when you're obviously there as Brett Rossi, you know what I mean? Then they should call you Brett, and not. It's like they think that it's cool. To be able to know your name, and that it used to happen at the club, even before I was. Do you know what I mean? Like even before I did Penthouse or did anything, and people knew. Now people know my real name because I'm the general manager at a club, so I have to use my real name, right? So I've had to learn exactly what you're talking about. Is like meshing those two those two parts of your life together. But when people used to come in and be like, "Hi, Emily," and I'm like, I'm not fucking Emily right now. I'm fucking Bambi.
I know.
Like, it's not an anything.
I hate when they're in my OnlyFans DMs and they're like, "Hey, Scotty." I'm like, okay. I feel like they do it because they
want an end. They think that it's in. Like they
have some sort of like. I think the psychology behind it is honestly like they think that they're like cool and they're like
it's an end thing. They know. They know.
I'm like, look, dude, everyone can use Google. It's very easy to know, who I am, but I would prefer that I used to go off on people and now I'm like, look, I don't like when you refer to me as that. Can you please not? Like I am, dude, if you know me on a personal level, I don't care what you call me. If you don't know me on a personal level, you do not have the right to call me because I go by Brett Rossi. So that's what I want to be referred to as. Is my name, am I going and introducing myself as my real name? No, I'm not. Like, I would prefer to be called this. And so, but unfortunately with me and what you've experienced, it's kind of meshed, and mine is so public that it's like, I struggle a lot with like, I want my social media to be like authentic and show my friends, like you people, like who really follow me, to know what I'm going through and to see like my life in real time. But then I have to remember that it also can affect my business. So I have this hard balance, and I struggle with it all the time. And my manager's like, yo, delete that. And I'm like, damn it, I was just trying to beat Scotty. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going through shit right now. God damn it. And he's like, yeah, but it will, I got people in your DMs asking like, hey, who died? And you're like, oh my God, like I don't want to talk about it with like random Joe in his basement who's jerking off to my photos, like, hey, my horse died. Like, let's talk about it while I send you nudies. Like, that's fucking weird, So it's like,
how I got it, how I dealt with it was when I had the first club that I was running with my husband. I created a private account, and still as Bambi Wilde, but I only allowed a certain number of people onto it. Like I was very strict with who I allowed to follow me,
right?
And that became my vlogging. Do you know what I mean? And there was like 2,000 people on there that I knew. I mean, I don't give a fuck if they were judging me, but they weren't going to judge me in such a way. And they knew me from the industry.
Even people in my life judge me. They'll like message me like, yo, you and I'm like, cause I'm fucking unhinged right now. Just 5 minutes. I'll be okay in 5 minutes, god damn it. Like, just give me a second. Fuck, let me get out. Just let me, because I'm Gemini. Like, I'm fucking Gemini. Like, I gotta get it out. I gotta let my third personality shine. Let that bitch take over for a minute, and then the other personality can be like, "Yo, you need to calm down." So it is. And I do like Steve has an Instagram, and like I've tried the whole like it's just hard for me because
it's just more work.
And I'm like, I don't care. Whatever. They think I'm fucking unhinged. I don't care. I'll delete it in 5 minutes anyways. It's fine. But I think that that's what kind of makes my account unique, is that I do show that side of me, so people see that I am real, whereas like it's not just all thirst traps. Like, I post pretty pictures on my social media, but then randomly I post like, a little carousel of like me with my ponies or me with my friends or whatever. So I think that it's important to have some authenticity if you want your brand to succeed. But not only that, if you want to connect with your fan base, because connecting with your fan base will create longevity. Yes, if you just post thirst traps and whatever, it'll be great for keeping it right now, making the money right now. But I think why my brand has been so successful, and I'm very lucky because I haven't done a movie since 2019 or whatever, how long it's been. I think that that's what's contributed to my brand success, is that, or not even, I don't even say success because that sounds so gross, but like longevity, is that I've stayed authentic.
And it's enjoyable, because for the people that do know you and follow you, because we know each other, and I like to see your social media, because I do feel like I would still like your thirst traps. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to not support my friends. But as someone who's your friend and someone who knows you from the industry, it is really beautiful to see you, when you're out with your horses and you're doing that, and you've got like, it is actually really beautiful to be able to support that side of your friend's life. You know what I mean? So for the people that do follow you, that do know you,
it normalizes a lot of things that a lot of people go through.
People come up to me like when it didn't happen as much when I lived in San Diego. I had a little more privacy, but like for example, the other day I was like going and buying a cake for somebody, and like there was a paparazzi, and he was like, "Oh my God, Brett Rossi, like what the fuck are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Hi," like I'm so awkward in front of them, and I'm like, "Yeah." And you can go on like Getty, and like they're the ugliest photos. Like, what am I wearing? Don't even look at it. I'm wearing like a hoodie with like a green skirt and like these socks that I used to think were cute until I saw this photo, and I was like, "Oh my God, what am I?" And these grandma, like I'm wearing like Skechers, like what am I wearing? And I'm like, I look so stupid. And but it's when people come up to me and they're like, you know what I like most about you is like you're just normal. Like you're such a normal person. Like you're not, you don't have this like pretentious like aura of you. And like, sometimes I forget, like I get this talk a lot from, my manager, and he's like, you sometimes forget like your brand. And I'm like, I'm just me. Like, I just see myself as me. I don't see what everyone else sees. Like,
but you've made that your brand. Do you know what I mean? That has become part of your brand. And that is why it's successful. And I think even when we all need like advice and guidance and that kind of stuff to navigate the weird world that it is, and especially like it's way more heightened for you. But I think that you have enough of your own intuition that you should follow it, because I think it's taken you this far and you've been successful. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like when you have control, it's great to have guidance, but when you have control of your own brand and you get to be your own person, I do think that people respond to that.
Yeah, sorry if Steve's being annoying.
It's fine. Like, you want to talk about? Should we wrap it up? Because we've got like all kinds of content. Do you want to say anything
whatever
else?
You guys want. I'm not going anywhere, so it's fine. Whatever you guys want.
Do you want to talk about when's Miami? Let's talk about where you're going to be performing.
Miami, I have to like I'm so bad. Like somebody asked me, they're like, where are you staying? What do you do? I'm like, honestly, I just show up and someone just picks me up and takes me. Like, I have an assistant, and my assistant like does like everything for me when I'm traveling. So like they usually have my itinerary, and they like I just kind of show up. I just know, okay, they're going to pick me up. Like, for example, like when I'm dancing, I have an assistant, and they usually correspond. And then I'm like, okay, I know I need to be ready to be picked up by like 9. So I know I need to start doing my makeup and my hair by like 7, because I don't like being rushed. So I know like what times I need to be somewhere, but like overall, like, where are you staying? What is this? I'm like, I don't fucking know until like the week of, when I got to get a dog sitter. And I'm like, fuck, why did I procrastinate? But no, so Miami is the 27th.
I think we share a mental illness.
I do have I'm insane. It's fine.
So you're gonna be at Exotica, and you're gonna be at what? You're gonna be at a booth, right? Or
I'm at the spotlight booth, so that's cool. Yeah, it was really cool because I was so scared to like. I had a connection, and she was like, you should start doing appearances. It'll really help your brand, because I was trying to find a way to revive my brand without having to like go back to do movies. Mm-hmm. And I haven't done, it's not that I have anything against it. It's just I haven't done a movie in so long. Like, I like smaller dicks. I'm just, my vagina just isn't meant for like giant penises. Okay. Like, I just, it's not, I just can't do it anymore. I don't know how I used to do it, but so she was like, you should start doing appearances, and I have a connection for Exotica, and I guarantee they'll want you for the spotlight booth. And I was like, why would they want me? Like, that's weird. And so I messaged this person, and
I can't believe that Brett Rossi has imposter syndrome.
I do have it, and yeah. And it's a real thing. Like, I never think, like, the other day I was in a meeting, and the person was like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to you, because this was a publicist that I've always heard of, and she was a very big publicist at the time, and she was kind of like a folktale. Yeah. And I always wanted to meet her, and I was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I'm fucking talking to you, like the Adela, like, oh my God, and she's like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, why? Like, I'm like, why? I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know. It's just weird when people say that, because I'm like, huh? Like, what? So, and when I get like recognized in public and stuff, I'm like, who? Like, what? But yeah, so I'm going to be at Exotica the 27th, 8th, and 9th. I'm featuring on the 28th, and on my socials, you can follow, and I'll post, and you can see all my interesting stuff that I post.
Are you on, let's clarify this. Are you on Facebook?
I don't fucking have a Facebook, okay?
Okay, I tried to report that account so many times.
That fucking Facebook 30,000 followers or something on it, and I'm like, I don't have a fucking. They're like, I saw on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't fucking have a Facebook, dude. Like, I had a secret one. A very secret one, and I only had like 6 friends, and then I got blocked by somebody, and I was like, oh. So I deleted my Facebook because I was like, I only had it for that person. So I was like, why do I fucking need it? I only have like 5 friends now, and I'm like, and the friends that were my friends were like my grandma, my aunt. Like, I don't fucking care. Like, no offense, grandma, auntie. But like, so I just deleted it because I was like, up to no good on there. I mean, literally, I only used it primarily to like post, and I didn't even post on my story, like I would, or what's it called, a feed or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know how it works. But I would like join like groups because I had moved to San Diego and I didn't have friends, so I would join like dog mom groups and like where to get like a Sphinx dog. You know what I mean? So I just deleted it because I was like, I'm back in LA and I have so many resources that because I grew up out here, I don't need fucking Facebook. So no, I don't have Facebook.
What are your real socials then?
So my Instagram is legacy verified. It's I'm Brett Rossi. So my name, but with the letter I M. Not I am, the letter I and the letter M as in Matthew. Brett Rossi. And it's verified with a blue check mark. That's me. And my Instagram is the same. And then my TikTok is just, it doesn't even matter because it's just like a lame TikTok that like I don't even care if people follow it. I just post fun stuff on there. But that's Boring Barn Girl. And I don't have a Brett Rossi TikTok, and there's like 800 of them. And I don't know what to do. And like people are like, you should take, I was scammed, and they write to me all the time yelling at me, and I'm like, literally they don't care. So, but the social media that I'm most active on is my Instagram. But if you're ever confused, like whoever's watching, they can just go to brettrossi.com, and all my verified like actual social links are on there. Okay. So brettrossi.com is like where you can, if you're ever unsure, that's where you can find it.
brettrossi.com.
brettrossi.com.
Stop giving money to
Nigerian folks. And Nigerians, if you want to like split, the proceeds, I'd love to have some money.
She'll work with you.
We can work out a deal. You can keep the majority of it. Just kick me back some. It's fine, But
whoever's behind that Facebook page is doing things.
Posting. I'm nosy.
It's like it looks legit.
Oh my
and then they blocked me.
It's sneaky. My fake profile, my real Instagram profile got deleted.
Raven, they messaged you?
Oh no, I'm saying they look legit, but then they blocked me when I reached out to try to block them or try to have them reported.
Well, can you like post on your guys' like Facebook? So like, hey, I don't have a Facebook. I don't know, like maybe get the word out.
That might be more. Yeah, that might be more efficient on hers, but we'll do it on this too.
I can post
I can do it on my Facebook.
Alex might be able to do something.
I lost my.
Alex, there's a guy that we know that might be able to do something about that. We'll talk to him.
It's so bad. And, it sucks too because, like, especially when you're in relationships or, like, you're going through, like, the exit of relationships, you have, like, these weirdo catfishes who like, follow your stuff and post stuff, and you're like, I don't want people thinking that, like, I'm, like, doing anything nefarious. Because I'm not behind it. Like, it's not me, I always get like nervous that they're gonna like message or follow or do this, and then like other people are gonna think like, ew, what is she like doing? You know what I mean? Like, it's not me. I don't have a Facebook. It's not me.
So we have to wrap it up. We're gonna do that. We're gonna be done. But thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
We talk too much.
Don't hang up when she finishes it.
Okay, I won't hang up.
So we'll just do that. We'll just do the closeout. Like, okay, so brettrossi.com. Go and see her in Miami at the Exotica Expo. That's where you can find her next. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Raven.